when you married, which was 18, 19, a long time ago. Um,
19 years, call it out, boo, ooh, ooh. No, go ahead.
All I can know is I haven't been married, so that's the only thing I know. But what I noticed is that things change with time. What
Absolutely.
was popular at that time is not popular at this time. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to navigate, just go along with the time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you think that you stay steady on the same? So, for example, where you met Tate, and even though you guys are older, you're the same. I didn't mean to say his name. When you met your husband, it's the same. You guys have the same relationship, or do you think that you move with time? And let me explain why I'm saying this, because, and we'll bring this up when I have a conversation with men and women, because I do want to bring this up. What I find is I hear words like peace. I want my peace. But like we mentioned in the singles read, a lot of men don't choose peace. So what they're saying doesn't really match what they do. So when I look back, I think, oh, I want hypergamy. But at one point, or I want a woman to be submissive, but I do remember those days where it was INDEPE, so what do you want? I'm confused.
Right.
Because it's like a trend. I want independent, but then now I want you not to be independent. And it's kind of like, but we do that too.
Well, I think you want what you don't know until you get it. Like how everybody's like the grass is greener on the other side. So on one end, when I'll say men at times, I think when they don't have a full understanding of what it means to be a leader of their home, a full understanding of what that incorporates, that it sounds good because they're only looking at it from one side, and that's the submissive side, and I get to lead and tell her what to do. They're looking at it from a very immature, I guess, perspective of what that means. But then if you have a woman that, let's say, understands what that means and have that expectation, and then they realize like, oh, this isn't just me being able to get some hot cooked meals and her cleaning up the house and her being available to me for sex whenever I want it. Once they realize that there's so much more that comes along with that, then it becomes, I think, somewhat to a degree feels more like a burden to them, because that's a lot of weight to carry when you know everything begins and ends with you. If my family is successful, great, but if they fail, then that's on me. And that's a heavy weight, a heavy load to carry. And so then I think when they realize that, sometimes that's when it goes into the, no, I like my woman independent, because now that's less work that I have to put in. Exactly.
Right, it's the extreme of things. Okay. Yeah, I was always wondering that, because we lived in a time where the decades have changed. You have more people being vocal about different things, and I'm like, well, you weren't screaming that. Well, I don't know if you know this, Lauren, because you're still pretty young. I'm like, you weren't screaming that just 6 years ago. It was a different, and it was. And the thing about that is, it's frightening, because that means that your mind changes with the trend. Is a trend. It's not really something that you really feel. So I always appreciate the men and women who hold true to themselves. This is what I like. I always liked it this way. It doesn't change. It's just who I am, and opposed to, oh, this is what's popular. Because that means that you're on a temporary basis with your mate, and then that's how divorces end up. You're just not being true to yourself.
Yeah, I know, like for him and I, we also, I think too, we have a tendency to define what our relationship needs to look like based on, I guess, like you said, societal expectations. And what I've come to learn, and what him and I have had to grow into, has been defining what's going to work for us. Because both of us have came with our own baggage, and unpacking each other's baggage requires some adjustments. And for me, he understands what my triggers were because, like I told you, I had both parents in the house, but my dad wasn't necessarily a great example of what it means to be a leader. My mom was a great example in terms of what it means to be submissive to her husband. And so the messaging that I got was, if you submit, you're going to be taken advantage of. That was the message I had walking into our marriage. Now, for him, he came from a single household and he had no example of what it is to lead. And where he got that from was, you know, people on the street, should I say, the male images that he had on the street, which was more so about, dominating a woman, that kind of mindset. And so for us in the beginning, it was like oil and water when it came to that, because, his personality, he has a very masculine personality, which I can definitely appreciate at times. But for me, in the beginning, it was a trigger for me. So anytime he stepped into his manhood, I stepped into my masculinity to meet his, to kind of challenge him, to let him know that, no, you're not going to run over me. And that was me operating out of fear.
Well, let me ask you a question, but did that not work though? Like, for example, I think that what people think is a relationship is one size fits all. But at the end of the day, you guys are still married. I think that, so I think that it has to be equal balance. Everybody has to be happy in the situation. One person can't be happy without the other person being happy. So even though you guys are meeting each other with masculine energy or whatever, undoubtedly it works in your situation because you guys are still together, right?
Well, yeah, but we had to learn along the way. I think there are times that both of us have to shift. Sometimes I need him, and I don't know if this is the way to say it, because I know men get offended when you say, they have feminine energy or something like that. But everybody has that balance in them. You can be, feminine energy or masculine energy or whatever. For me, I just think it's just the broad range of human emotion. I don't even like calling it masculine or feminine, because we as human have a tendency to go in and out of both of those emotions or feelings or energy when needed, right? And so I think a lot of times what happened in the beginning was, anytime I saw his masculine energy and it was a trigger for me based on the baggage that I brought in, I raised my masculine energy when I didn't necessarily need to. So it would be things like, can you go make me a sandwich? And like both of us are chilling. And I'm like, no. Because in my mind, I'm like, why are you telling me to go make you a sandwich? You trying to control me? Like that was my mindset. And I was just like, no, you can go make your own sandwich.
What's so funny to me, Tara, though, this is the conversation I do want to have with the guys. Like I want a conversation with men and women, because I hear what you're saying and I hear what men are saying, but it doesn't make sense, because just like you challenged him, that's what I've noticed that wins, because you already know my personality. I'm a very catering when it comes to, I love hard. Yeah. I'm a very catering person, and I feel like that's my downfall. Like I was literally told by the ex that I didn't have a backbone, but people are saying, "Oh, I want this girl, I want that girl, I want the girl who's the." But I'm like, that girl doesn't win games.
Well, you know what it is? It's about finding that balance. You can be a catering person because you are like that, but there's a difference between catering and drawing boundaries, catering and having certain expectations. You can cater with expectations.
Mm-hmm.
The problem where you fall is that because you love hard, you want to make sure your relationship work, is that sometimes you lose yourself in that relationship, and you understand his boundaries and his wants and his needs while neglecting your own.
You're right.
And you can't do that. You have to, because it's unfair to him too. You doing all of the work on that one end and then not for being fulfilled on the other end is unfair to you, because you're not going to be able to have that complete relationship. And so I think as long as you have those expectations of what your standards are, either a guy is going to meet those expectations and get all of you, or they won't, and then it'll be one-sided, and then you'll be unhappy, but he'll be okay. But ultimately he won't be okay because you're unhappy, right? So I think for him and I, especially the space that we're in now, it's more like the other day I came in and he was doing the dishes. That's my love language right there. Like, I'm not,
Doing the
no,
house.
I can listen, I kid you not. I don't need you don't need to buy me money. And I think for him, that he had to learn that, because the buying of things didn't work for me. That was his love language. He likes, presents. He likes, little things, that I might go and be like, oh, I found this shirt. I think it'll look really nice on you. Oh, I just bought these shoes for you. He likes gifts. Me, gifts aren't going to do it for me. If you take the time to do something that I know you don't really enjoy doing, but you do it for me, that speaks to my heart, because I know it's sacrifice. I know you're doing something because you love me, when I know you hate doing the dishes. So I came in and I saw him. I'm like, oh, okay. Right. Exactly. So he had to learn how to love a different way, because his love was giving gifts, and the girls that he dealt with before, they were cool with that. But for me, it was like, nah, you know me. I'm not in a big shopper kind of chick. I'm always looking for bargains. I'll go to Walmart and get clothes, or, like, I don't care. That kind of stuff don't impress me. And so he's trying to buy jewelry and, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, you know, like, but if you're going to talk about, all right, let's, I'll clean the house for you. I'm like, oh, like, okay. So, or I'll cook dinner tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, so, but we had to adjust. And I think we've gotten better too, now that the kids are gone. Like, that's a whole nother level. Now that the kids are gone. So we're actually relearning each other. And this part is great.